We should be live. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Gerard, and Chris will be back in just a minute. Carter had to show his daddy something, so daddy had to run off. But this is part two of what I guess we're calling some sort of a weekend colony wrap-up, where we talk about the news from around the colony, the colonies around the planet, what's been happening. The planet was colonized. All of our cultures were destroyed, and we've all landed up in a system, or we all ended up in a system that we have no idea how to get out of. We have no idea. Well, I don't know. We'll say we don't have any idea how to get out of, but we ain't. No, first of all, number one, none of us are getting out of here alive. And number two, none of us are getting out of here by ourselves. If we get out of this, we're going to get out of it as a group, as a group of human beings. The powers of love and kindness and friendliness and empathy. And like we ended up yesterday, we had some great discussion yesterday. I'm trying to do a little bit of a summary as people start to come in, Chris. Yesterday was an awesome talk. If you guys didn't listen to yesterday, you should go back to look at part one. It's posted out there on YouTube, Facebook. What's the other one? The other one is start with a P. Periscope. There's so many of these things. I don't even know the names of all of them. But we kind of went through, started with Roseanne, and it kind of walked down through, being offended and offense, and who really has the right to be offended, and what is offense? How do we respond to offense? We dabbled into hate, and what are the roots of hate? How do we resolve hate? We say we want to resolve it, but we don't take the actions to resolve it. We don't try to understand it. We just try to fight it with our own hate. And I think, if I could wrap it up, Chris, I'd probably say kind of wrapped up in this place where we ended up on voting and trying to figure out if voting matters, but also those of us who don't have the hate, those of us who don't have that anger, those of us who know better, those of us who didn't come up in situations of immense poverty and scarcity that made us angry, rightfully so, raging, rightfully so, that righteous rage that turns into hate that our societies manufacture, but also those of us who came up in very wealthy environments. Let's not forget that wealthy environments make psychopaths too. But if you were able to pull yourself out of it, or if you didn't come up in an environment like that, it's your responsibility to not fall behind unwise activity and that tribal mentality joining in, making problems worse. And then we ended up in voting. So I think that was kind of my wrap up for yesterday. I think what else we hit, Chris, we hit the flares, the idea that, when hate appears, when offense appears, when someone says something really offensive, the analogy of it's like a flare being shot up. And we people of empathy and love are always searchers for somebody in a bad situation. And often that hate and those things that manifest themselves in powerful words utilized to invoke emotion to get your attention, they're just flares being shot up. And you have to determine, are you going to respond to the flare and go help that person? Knowing flares are hot, Chris. Flares are hot. Touch a flare, not going to feel good. Are you going to respond and try to figure out how is this person in this boat on this open ocean of scarcity and a system that designs them to be isolated and in pain? Or are you going to go, I guess, what do the helicopters do, Chris? They drop the rope, try to help the person out, try to figure out how did you end up in the ocean by yourself? How did you end up with all this pain and suffering? What can I do to help you? That's kind of my summary. You have a similar summary?
I mean,
for anybody who missed it,
you hit it on the nose, because really what it equates to is the way that we're all crying out for help. We're all crying out for help in different ways. Some people do it by, getting loads of money and thinking that is what is going to give them the life of happiness that they seek, or that is going to give them the fulfillment that they seek in this existence. And that is a cry for help in its own right. And we have young people crying out for help in the environment of the family structure. They are, you know, the teachings of old times say that you have to, beyond the shadow of a doubt, respect everything that is coming out of your mother's and father's mouth. And you have no room to input your own thinking, I would say, or your own perspective or visualizations of what's happening. You have to fall at the mercy of your parents, you know? So you have the youth crying out for help. Now, in terms of what we're really dealing with in this era of 2018 and oversaturation of politics, you have a massive adults crying out for help. Because really what I see is that we are a confused bunch of people. Because we have been taught with an education that was meant to confuse us, if you must, you know? But we have been taught to embrace this education in a way that we're championing that confusion. We're really championing the confusion that has fallen upon this society. You know, we talk democracy, but all we see is hypocrisy. You know, we talk the need to communicate, but all we see is us really hating each other. You know what I mean? And it's like everybody wants free speech, but now you can't speak freely because the people who want free speech are offended by your freedom of speech to say whatever it is that you want to say. Yeah. So it's like we've fallen into some bad times and we've fallen into some confusing times. But above all else, I realize that these times are scary because people are not committed to communicating with each other. People would rather their representatives that truly don't represent them and their families to speak for them. Yeah. And for me, it sums up to the point to where it's like the history will repeat itself if we don't change the narrative. If we allow the narrative to still come out of government, media, the education system, I don't care, the science, math, whatever you have, if we allow the education that is in the massive society to come out of this institution, these institutions of corruption, these institutions of deceit, we will only be a deceived people, a confused people. Yeah. And the education we'll have will teach us to deceive others, to communicate with others in a way that we don't want to accept what they have to offer if it's not based on the commonality of our lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Oh, it's making good sense. It's making good sense. In fact, when you talk about free speech, you know, we want free speech, but not your free speech. I want my free speech. I need you to shut up when you want to speak your free speech. I want to speak what is foul in my life and what I want. I don't really care about so much what you want. You talk about, but that applies to all the rights, even applies to gun rights. You know me, I'm not for infringing on the Second Amendment. I don't think now is the time in our society. I think we can get there. You can make people want to put down guns, but you have to fix the society, which is the reason they pick up the guns, right? You can fix that at any time you want. You can make people put down all the illegal guns in the world. Most of them, you can make them put them down. You give them a society where they don't need them. You get rid of the war on drugs and things like that. But I don't think, you know, so I want you to give up your gun, but I'm not going to give up my police state. Right? Same thing with free speech, right? So everything is very selective and we're indoctrinated to that selectiveness. Like I already see some discussion in the room around Christianity and Islam and whether Islam or Christianity is the answer. And if you ask me, neither is the answer. Neither is the answer because neither are themselves. Every religion has been co-opted. All groups have been co-opted. All the leaders have corrupt people who are diddling kids, who are in bed with the politicians, in bed with the big business. Religion to me is a personal thing. I think the constructs of those religions have it right because the constructs of most religions are the same constructs of natural law. which is to love people, to work with people, to listen to people, and to live as a collective, right? Not live as these ignorant individuals in a loving way, just ignorant individuals. An example I like the slave, I'm gonna say American slavery, right? We know slavery was everywhere, and it was all cultures, all ethnic. We talked about that yesterday, but I like the analogy of the slave boats making it to Africa, and when they hit the coast, what we were raised to believe is that a whole bunch of white folks jumped off the boats, went and just grabbed them a whole bunch of spear chucking, Africans, put them on the boat. That's not what happened at all. That's not even close to the truth. They got to the shoreline because they already hooked up with the Arabs who were selling out. Hey, what's happening, Carter?
Say hi.
Yeah.
Hi, bye.
He knows when the camera's on, apparently. He knows.
Oh, he knows. He's like his daddy. He just like his daddy. He fighting the system. The system trying to hold him down. I'm fighting the system. And he got the goofy too.
Yeah, he fights it.
He is a mirror of his pop. But that the example I like is when the boat landed, the scheme was already set, right? The 1% already bought the poor white folk who were on the boat to go over there. They already had an arrangement with the elite Arabs who already had the African slave trade set up the same way the Libyan slave trade set up now by the last administration. We won't go there. But then they got off the boat and it was set up with the African kings to grab the weaker tribes to put them on to put them in chains and be ready. So when the white folk who got there, they were ready to go. And this is why I like to talk about the sellouts. I love that example because it is an example that it's always this 0-1% that's playing everybody. There's a layer of sellouts underneath, and then there's the people who they're destroying the worst. And I don't think any of that's changed. I don't think any of that's changed at all. I think that you have an elite, you have a sellout middle class and business class that are out for themselves and don't give a damn about the slaves, They all they care about is what they want, Chris. This is why I don't talk about healthcare. People want, let's talk healthcare. I don't care about your healthcare. I don't. As long as you got slaves locked up in prison, you got kids as young as 14 locked up in prisons, you got kids 18 with no freedom. I have no interest in your healthcare. I have none whatsoever. But I think it's the layers of sellouts, and I think we need to start looking at our own hypocrisy and what we prioritize, what I can get over the slaves I'm putting on the boat, I'm putting in chains because I'm going to get something for putting them on the boat. And I think it's an ugly reality, but it's true.
Right. And it's very ugly because when we rely on the mainstream, when we've been forced to rely on the mainstream for information for so long, we believe it's all about narrative. And it's all about creating the right narratives for us as people. And instead of those narratives being so much as political, we need those narratives to be more sociable, where it's like we're talking about the basic needs of all people in a way that we're not speaking to each other in a way that we're relying on the government to provide us these basic needs. When we have the resources, we have the information, we have the people power. Hold on one second, buddy. All right, you got the cape on? Hold on, man. Hold on. I gotta laugh. Hold on.
Oh, I love it.
It's crazy. It's funny.
Every time Carter comes around, I love it. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm listening to you talk, and I'm just hoping that Carter hits you over the head with a bunny or something. I don't know.
So bad. He wants to be fine. All right, come here. I'm going to get in the video, but you got to stay out of the video, okay?
But it's interesting. I watched Chris and Carter doing their thing. And
you don't want to say no, you do. You do or you don't. Which one is it? Make up your mind now, because you're not going to keep. What do you want to do? Here. Let Carter give us 2 minutes. Let Carter go ahead. Do what you want to do. Look in the camera, though. Look in the camera. What are you doing?
Carter, who's that? What you holding? What is that in your hand?
caterpillar.
Is who?
A caterpillar.
A caterpillar? You know, caterpillars, man, they eat leaves off of my garden plants. I'm not sure I like caterpillars that big, man. I like to eat food. I like fresh food from my garden. I'm not sure a caterpillar. I think that's some indoctrination, man. I think they're trying to get you to embrace pesticides and caterpillars are good. I don't know. Are there good caterpillars in the cartoons now?
Are there good caterpillars in cartoons? Are there good caterpillars in cartoons? Look in the camera there.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are.
Are there good kids in cartoons? Huh? Why not see a good kid get on my face then? See a good kid then. See a good kid. Go to creativity. See what I'm saying?
What? I have to jump in there. You know what you and Carter remind me of? When I was growing up, I always interfaced with my uncles, my aunts, their friends, and what they were talking about. They would always be in the kitchen eating chicken. That's a whole nother discussion. We're not even gonna go there. But we were at the kid table, or we were on the sofa listening in. What are the grown folks talking about? What are they talking about? And we didn't always understand what they were talking about, but we got the gist of a lot of it, right? And it was the conversations with my uncles and my father and their friends that really got me to see as a kid that you can't trust anything that's handed to you flat. Like you can't trust anything that's handed down. You know, now they weren't as conspiratorial as I think I'm becoming. I think I'm spending a little more time with it, but we always listened in. And I see Carter is doing that. I see Carter, he's not picking everything up that's being put down. He's picking up just enough. And the next generation needs to know, because otherwise they won't really know. They won't be ready at a young age for being lied to. Right. I was happy to be lied to till I was about 30 years old before I really started to realize that they were making it all up.
And it's real because we gotta teach them early. You know, I try to teach them little it's and bits of things because I just want to try to see how his mind responds to this information. You know, it's always see, this is what we failed to do. We've allowed the government, the institutions, and the doc. All right, come on. All right, I need you to be serious now, okay? I like the fun and all. We have fun off, but I need you to be serious right now, okay? Because I'm trying to do this.
Not to laugh, because when you laugh, Carter gets excited.
All right. I need you to be serious. Yeah, he does what he wants. He does what he wants.
I'm making it worse. I make it because I laugh. It's fun. I love kids. Kids are funny, man. I think kids are so much smarter than we are. I think they just got the common sense, straight approach to everything. Anyway,
they're more loving too. They don't lie. They don't lie. They haven't. They feel. I think they only lie when they're really forced to. When they're forced in the corner and they're like, oh, I know this is trouble around this. So I don't want to tell them myself. But again, I don't want to really tell the truth. So they create this thing in their mind because they see other people doing it in the TV. It's really the TV. The TV be showing the kids all these different ways of talking and communicating. So they process this stuff. The kids are truth. They tell you like it is. You know what I mean? Oh, you ugly, you bald, you got gray hair, you got teeth. Why is your skin wrinkled? Why is your this and that? Well, you're a little bit fat. You're a little bit oversized. No, the kids tell the truth. In the way that adults need to embrace telling the truth. You know, that's all. It's like the kid is saying it in such an innocent way, you can't be offended.
You can't be offended.
Not offended by it because you know it's the truth of what it is, and it's what it's coming from. Stop for a second. All right, stop. Calm down.
Ooh,
you're not getting no snacks to that.
You nailed something on that. You nailed something on that.
You gotta hit them with the snack.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you offended when somebody calls you the N-word and they look like you?
Hell no. I ain't never been offended when nobody called me the N-word. I'm not gonna lie. This is it, brother. This is so real.
Go ahead.
I grew up a little bit most in the hood. And when I was young, I grew up in the inner city. Then I moved to the suburbs. When I moved to the suburbs, it was ordinary for white people when they got mad to call you nigga. I never was experiencing this in the hood because the white brothers, we was cool in the hood. Everybody, we was all family.
Everybody, yeah.
White poor people, black poor, we was all in this situation. We was family. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Carter, hold on. Let me talk to this guy. He's going crazy. I gotta do. Hold on.
Oh no, go ahead. I got something.
Hold on.
Go. Because what I'm thinking about, are we offended based on who says it more than what's said? And where does that come from? Is that's a handed down indoctrination that somebody is telling us? Somebody's convinced us that a word means something different when it comes from somebody else than someone who you don't know, who still looks just like you. I was thinking about a long time ago. I dated a Spanish woman. She had a little girl. And I went in there. I want to say that her little girl was probably about 6 or 7 or so. Cute as could be. And the first thing she called me, she looked at me and she said, "Chocolate." I think it was something like that. It was racist. It was so racist. It was so, she was like, chocolate. And the funniest thing to me is it was cute. It was cute because it was coming from a kid. It was cute because, Chris, I was telling the story. I dated this Spanish woman. She had this little girl, and she's probably about 5 or 6. And when I first met her, she was like, chocolate. And so basically, what was she saying? And she was saying, black man. And I could have been offended by it, but the reality is I loved it. I laughed at it. It was cute. And I realized, damn it, look in the mirror. I do look kind of chocolate, don't I? She's not lying. She's telling the truth. And it's just like, it leads me into other offensive things. Like when people say you people, we can talk about terms today. When they say you people, you're supposed to get upset. But wait a minute. Are we told to get together in groups and clans and have meetings together without other people and believe that we are this people because we got this skin color? We're supposed to listen to this kind of music, drive this kind of car, act this way, do this. So if we act like you people, we act like we are this people that are separated out from everybody else. But when someone else says you people, why would you be offended? If you've separated out yourself from other people and someone says you people, I think that, again, the offense, there's something deep down that we got to solve in all offense. But also if you have the ability to see what I'm saying, if you have the ability to understand why those words are used and not be offended, then don't be offended. Don't add to the chaos. Don't add to the nonsense. If you are grown enough or if you are mature enough or intellectual enough to not make things worse and stir up the pot at a time when all the poor people need to get together, not fight each other over what the same group of people are telling us we need to fight over again with today, then we in trouble. We in big trouble. Yeah. But I don't know how we got there. I guess we were talking about voting and ended up with some chocolate latte. I don't know.
Question about the N-word. So I went to the suburbs. We nigga in the hood, whatever. It wasn't really that deep. My family was Christian. They kept me away from that, but I was in the street, so the kids would say anything and everything. We reckless. The kids were reckless because you could tell their parents didn't care, or the parents didn't teach them like how to talk or respectfully. They just talk gung ho. They still do. But when I went to the suburbs, it was completely different. It was like an etiquette in the way you live life. It was like a change in the way the drastic change in the way that these kids live life and the adults live life and how they're taught was there. But the separation was still there as well. So I guess I don't know where the young kids got the idea from, but when the young white kids were mad at other black kids, they resorted to calling them N-words. Like I got called nigger just because I was good at joking, and I was better at joking. I had better jokes than other kids, and my jokes were so good that you had to call me the N-word, and it's like that was used to try to infuse anger within. But I never was offended by really words, because one thing I could always remember, my mom always, sticks and stones, why you get mad because somebody said sticks and stones, and that's all I thought. Sticks and I used to go around saying it in my head. Sticks and stones, like I used to sing a song about it because I heard it so much. Sticks and stones, sticks and stones, sticks, and I'm making them, but it was real. When I started to understand, it was real because you called me N-word, I wasn't affected by that. And then my black friends were looking at me like, yo, Chris, aren't you gonna fight him? Aren't you gonna
get played?
What do you mean? Like, why? Because he called me N-word? That ain't nothing. I'm like, that don't mean nothing. I ain't no N-word. I ain't no nigger. Like, you know what I mean? If I want, or it's like this. When you claim that, or when you let that infuse hate within you, that means that's what you're representing. You're representing it as an N-word because obviously they have embedded in our mind where we should be offended because they used to call us this word in America. They used to call all black people this word in America, but yet white America doesn't understand and truly grasp what the intentions behind it were. Okay, the intentions were to make black people, even though they're not black, but they would label black by the same white people that called people Negroes and niggers, but the word was used to infuse hate. Okay, the word today is still used to infuse hate because the indoctrinated beliefs of people is that they were these words. Oh, we were niggers at one time, so now whenever they say it, we're going to get mad about it. Well, I was never a nigger. My ancestors were never niggers.
I wasn't either.
The white man called them niggers all of them doesn't mean that I don't represent it as that, and my people didn't represent it as that. They had no choice but to accept that. We as a people have a choice to end that. We have the choice to eliminate that and communicate about this word in a way that we can help white people understand what it means when they use it or think about using it and understand how to teach black people not to be infused with hate by hearing it coming off the tongue or rolling off the tongue of this one person, this one, everything. Because at the end of the day, all they want us to do is stay close to the hateful things this society has done to us. So it's like slavery. We have to stick close to the facts. Yeah. But we don't have to associate ourselves with the hate behind it all. We have to stick close to the facts behind it all. So it's like, now we talk about slavery. White people want to say, oh, well, there's white slaves too, and this and that. It's like, okay, true. But what we know of the history of slavery was that black people suffered the worst, Native Americans, people of color in general, suffered the worst in terms of slavery than maybe all people that were slaves. But all people at certain points of time were slaves. We don't detest that fact. But the truth in America, the reason why America is what it is today, okay, is because the disproportionate way in which they have treated black people and people of color throughout the history of America. And also the education which they have given all people to view these things of history through the eyes of the white man's narrative. And it's not about it's not white man's narrative, it's the colonial man's narrative. You know, we have viewed history through their eyes because we have been forced to educate ourselves in systems that were built up by these same people who call black people niggers. These same people who made it strategic. Okay, this is strategy. Strategic to call white people white, and then the colored. Oh wait, we gotta call them something different than colored. If we're gonna have them, if we're gonna make them think they're citizens, we have to call them something different than colored. We can't have them colored. We have to call them. Well, why don't we call them black? Aren't they black? Well, let's call them black. And that's what it is. It's strategy. Okay, the strategy behind it was to create mass confusion, mass deception, and miscommunication amongst us people. Because we don't even communicate about this stuff except from an offensive mind frame. We shouldn't be offended. You know, we shouldn't be offended at all. We should be speaking like we were talking about yesterday, understanding about it all, you know?
Yeah. So I guess my thoughts on that is that, so I think it's get people to say anything other than what will be effective at breaking apart those who've taken over the world, right? So if people start thinking and talking in terms of the colonizers and those who are colonized, it will be very accurate, you know, in terms of the colonizers, Wall Street, you know, markets, banks on every continent, in every country, the 0.01%, the elite, the wealthy that always run everything. Even the poor, the colonized who become colonizers, they sell out and they do the same thing. It's like I was thinking about the other day, as bad as it sounds, people not gonna like it. It's true. It's gonna sound bad though, but probably one of the few people who disenfranchised and abused brown people more than Hillary Clinton was probably Puff Daddy. But people don't like to talk about that. They don't like to talk about it. They like to talk about, oh, they praise him, he can dance so well, and then they stop and remember the history. Yeah, he came from poverty, and when he got his money, what did he do? He sold everybody out, from Mace to all his rappers.
So big out, man. He's so big out.
Everyone. He wore them all out, and this is why. As much as possible, I avoid the labels, the whole white, black thing and all of this, because it confuses people still. It confuses people in this reality that because you grew up with someone, that they won't sell you out. When they have absolute power over you, they're going to do what they're going to do. And so it's not even hate on Puff Daddy. It's not a hate on Hillary Clinton and her, new slavery. It's not a hate on any of that. It's not a hate on Obama. It's not a hate on any. It's just an understanding that when you give a human being ultimate power, they're going to stop thinking about race like you do. They're going to stop thinking about these labels like you. They're going to stop thinking about your religion like you will. They're going to start sleeping with the choir. They're going to start sleeping with the kids. Whoever they want to do, whatever they want to do, then that they can get away with it, they're going to do it. So that's why I always like to keep that focus on, those who. And maybe there are three layers. Maybe, it's those who are still colonizing. It's those who are being colonized, and they're actually selling out the people beneath them. That's why I always go to the prison system. I was thinking about something today. Tom, what you think about this? For some reason, when I really think about it, probably over half of the people who have really interesting thoughts. Just delicious minds that I just love how their mind thinks and they break things down. Okay. They were all incarcerated at one point in time, whether it be Martin Luther King or John Lennon or Tupac or just, there's something about being on the very, very bottom. And maybe it works the same way from the top. Maybe the billionaires, they got the same understanding of the game, the system. I think our society is just this big matrix of pimping out people who are beneath you and you being pimped out by people who are above you consistently and constantly.
That's real. I think what you just said was real. So I think I can contest to that, because I never thought the way I thought, I guess, until I went through the ropes of being incarcerated, and I was just free to do whatever I wanted, living life. And I didn't know that, I lived around privilege, I guess you could say. For a black man, I lived around privilege, being that my people were successful, moved to the suburbs or whatever the case is, were able to give me the things that I needed and, a little bit of access or whatever. But I still had that education that kept me in the colonizer mind frame, and the mind frame that, forget about all the other things that are going on that you might care about deep down inside, because you have to focus on the certain things that American dream entails, getting a job, going to school, this and that. And I never aligned with that really. So during my travels, getting into the marijuana trade, I ran into some trouble. But when I got incarcerated for that, it was kind of weird, because it was a new beat. A completely new beat. And this is something I was young, dumb, and naive. You know what I'm saying? I was still young. I was probably 21 maybe. Naive still. Dropped out of college. Chose to do what I wanted to do because I realized it wasn't working for me, even though, I felt like I had the intelligence to complete it, but just the systematic of it all. I had to go to college broke, or I had to go work and get money and go to college at the same time. So,
Daddy,
yeah.
what do Krispies have in it?
I don't know, right?
Rice and what?
Crispy.
Milk?
Crispy.
Milk?
There's almond milk in there, but it's rice and crispy. So I don't know. Let me see the box. If it's the main kind, I don't agree with it. But yeah. So going through those travels, I've seen something that I've never seen before, and I started getting introduced to information that I never would have got introduced to. Like these people on the inside are talking about the things that nobody on the outside is talking about. And the stuff that I'm hearing, it's like, yo, where do these dudes are so smart and involved with the right, they're really at the right information, but you know, society has written them off as criminals, you know, but it's a lot. See, the thing about being incarcerated, you see that a lot of those dudes are still good dudes, you know what I'm saying? A lot of those, hold on, let me think, hold on one second. There is no Rice Krispies in there. No, I didn't say it. You asked what's the Rice Krispies. You're not getting Rice Krispies. There's no Rice Krispies. You just ate some cereal. Fall back. Get a snack.
The good brothers.
Sorry. I lost my train. But yeah, so
you were saying the brothers inside are still good brothers.
Yeah, the people inside, there are a lot of good dudes, but they made mistakes. You understand what I'm saying? They made mistakes, but also society has led them on the brink of destruction up here. Society has driven these men crazy, and women as well. And they've gotten the short end of the stick in society. But then when you break down the whole aspect of the jail, there are people in there who are very affluent. There are people in there who are of the lifestyles of the you know, great jobs, 9-to-5ers, college educated, family man, taking care of the situation, taking care of kids, taking care of families. And there are many different men that are locked up and in prison who are just average, everyday people. But this is not the education that we receive in the mainstream. You receive the information that, oh, these individuals are so bad, they're so rotten, they're the worst, they're the vilest of vile people in society. But the truth is, how are we going to judge and critique these men and the information that they're trying to maybe share and spread to masses, which, you know, is being suppressed? But then we say that we're going to allow the government officials, who are much more crooked, who are much more corrupt, much more criminal than these dudes that are inside these jails. You know, these dudes that are inside these jails, a lot of them have just fought for survival. You know, so they sold drugs. They sold drugs, or they stole things that they shouldn't have stole, but they felt like their backs was against the wall, so they took that. The mentality is survival. You know, so the right to survive. Dairy, you can't have none of this. Dairy. I don't do dairy. Oh no, look at that, PGE. Get that out of here. No, we don't do PGE. There's cereal in there for you to have. He's trying to eat GMOs. Like, come on, guys. Don't give me no GMOs. He's trying to eat GMOs to eat. Like, come on, man. What's up with the kid? Is he all right? But yeah, so the environment that is created in the communication that we have as people is to write off these individuals that become incarcerated. Is to look at these individuals with lesser value than average people. And we have to realize that. What you say?
I say it's a form of racism. It's a form of hate. It's not just against the, you know, a certain race in there. When you see a man come out of prison and he's got the neck tattoos, whether he's white or black, no matter what he is, he'll never get a job. People will look at him like he's dirt, like a slave. And this is why I always take those things right back to the slave coast in Africa when they were grabbing people, because you always have people selling out those who are treated worse. And that's exactly what's going on when you come out in the middle class. They look at people who are released from prison like they're criminals. And I have a different perspective, brother. Like when you say things that you were young and dumb and naive, I think you were young and I think you were naive. You weren't dumb. We are the ones who were dumb. I think you became precisely who you were supposed to. And my perspective is that because I work for these corporations and I understand that the reason that we have millions of men and women in prison is because pharmaceutical companies bought survival at that level. They were able to buy and keep this war on drugs going. They want to be able to sell their medication without you being able to sell it or grow it. And so to me, I don't see anybody in prison for something that's peaceful, specifically selling holistic medicine. That is not a crime. You were not a criminal, you know. But I see a lot of things like it's there's a model there that just, if you really get down to it, a group of corporations get together and they realize how to make money taking what the poorest do. The poorest were the farmers, right? They were growing hemp and cannabis and all that stuff. They decided that, no, we want to buy this industry. We want to make it illegal, even though it's unconstitutional to do that, that those laws are not valid at all. None of them, nowhere. The DEA is not valid to the Constitution. It's all 100% treason, all of it. And everybody associated, they need to be locked under the prisons, if not hung from the flagpoles or the ships. It's treason. It's treason against United States citizens. So no, I don't view anyone who was in there or in there now as criminals, because they're not criminals. They were on the bottom. Corporations bought survival so they couldn't survive. And they did what any of us would do in the same exact situation. So no, brother, I don't see you as being dumb. I see you as being a kid doing what kids do in a society full of adults who are ignorant, who make laws and agree with childish ideas of politicians that are completely unconstitutional because you were falling asleep in civics class and you didn't realize you're not supposed to vote for these morons. And so that's why we have this sick society that's based on pimping each other out and survival and taking what each other has. And that's how you get a Puff Daddy. You know, he's not a bad guy. You know, he does bad things like Hillary Clinton, but he became a survivalist. He became phenomenal at surviving. And he turned his back and cut the throat of anybody who he had to, because we built up a society that requires that in people. We built up a society full of psychopaths, and now we blame the people who are surviving instead of the system that we keep voting for, which leads me back to the original point. We started on voting.
Okay.
We started on voting. And you started to answer the question yesterday. But are you planning on voting? I mean, what are your thoughts on voting?
This aligns with what we were just talking about. So now, when I had to weigh value, it's like I had to weigh this stuff out. You know, I had to get the positive and the negative, and get the truth about what's really going on in government and what we really need to happen as like individuals, but as a collective group of people. And like the thing we were just talking about, I got locked up for something. And I was young, you know. I was told that I was a criminal. I was labeled as a felon. I was labeled as a criminal. I wasn't just labeled, but I was prevented from getting jobs that I was overqualified for. I was prevented from getting assistance that I would say beyond possible, but all types of things that I was prevented from because I got hit with a felony for selling marijuana. Fast forward about 10, 15 years, now they're making billions of dollars off of selling marijuana. And it's becoming less criminal than it was 15 years ago. And I'm still a criminal, but I'm not. I don't view myself as a criminal or whatever the case is, but I'm still a felon. I still have a felony tag against me, but yet these men in suits are making billions of dollars off of something that I was making merely thousands of dollars. You know what I'm saying? And when I opened my eyes to this, and I was just thinking of myself, but then I said, wait a minute, it was so many more people, white, black, Mexican, Asian, whatever. They was locked up for the same thing. These were good dudes. These were dudes that had families. These were dudes that they didn't bother anybody. All they wanted to do was put a little bit of money in their pocket in a way that they felt comfortable doing. And now the government is saying, wait, we changed our mind. It's not criminal anymore. And guess what? We're going to lead our way to the innovative future of marijuana and how it is to be used. Forget that. And see, I didn't even talk about the criminal ideas, the holisticness of it. Forget that we already allowed maybe millions of people to die in the healthcare system because we would rather prescribe them drugs from our monopolized companies as opposed to teaching them the truth about plants, medicinal herbs, eating the right way.
Yep.
They'd rather use the prescription drug companies to push their drugs in mass.
Yes.
But I'm a drug dealer. But the government, it's okay for the government. This is so crazy. This is only one thing that made me realize that the government can do it. The government can sell drugs every day for prices that are out through the roof, skyrocketing prices. They can put people on their last dollar because they have to buy prescription drugs to heal themselves. But I'm not killing anybody. These prescription drugs have side effects of the worst kind. These prescription drugs eat away at your liver, your spleen, they make you breathe differently. They make you might get heart failure. You might get something might happen to you. Something's going to happen to you with these prescription drugs. But that's the marijuana, and I'm selling marijuana. If you only thing you might have, you might get a little lazy, but you still feel good and you're healing yourself. But you're also staying out. It doesn't matter what it does. But what I'm basically trying to say is this:
well, I'll tell you what
are the biggest hypocrites of society, and the American people are the biggest hypocrites of the world, because it's right for the government to tell you that prescription drugs are okay. You need to take prescription drugs. You need to trust your doctor, and the doctors are getting paid to lie to you. You need to trust your physician, and the physician is getting paid to lie to you. You need to trust your politician. The politician is getting paid to lie to you. So when I come to tell the truth to you, you're not going to trust me because I'm a felon for selling marijuana. So now my credibility is all messed up. All my credibility is out the window. I can't teach you nothing because I've been locked up, and I've been this and that has happened because I'm one of those parasites. See, this was somebody called me a parasite to society. I said, somebody called me. And at first, I didn't take it all in. At first, like I said earlier, the sticks and stones thing. But then when I took it in, I'm like, these people are crazy. I'm a parasite to society because I wanted to sell marijuana. But now, you're throwing your patriotism, or not people the patriot. You're throwing your Americanism in my face, telling me that I have to vote, or else I'm just a no good, worthless citizen that ain't doing nothing right for the people. You're not helping the people because you're not voting. And I cry bull. That's bullshit. You know why that's bullshit? It's because people are suffering in the face of this corrupt system daily. Yeah. Whether it's the homelessness, whether it's the veterans, whether it's the people that are at the mercy of the healthcare system because they have no information or knowledge of the history of the healthcare system, whether it's the people that believe the politicians because they don't know that the politicians would lie right in their face. They don't know that the politicians, when they get in office, they can't do anything really for them. People honestly think this is the right way to live life. So now when I stand firm and say, look, I can run down the whole list of things why you shouldn't vote, people will look at me like I'm crazy. Even after I run down the whole list of things why they shouldn't vote, people will still rebut, well, how are you going to change anything if you don't vote? How are you going to do this what do you mean? This is what they use now. And this is crazy because they don't realize this is just one party. You're going to let the Republicans get control of everything in the government. You're going to let we need the Democrats in. The Democrats were in full control under Obama. And guess what they did? F over the people.
Yes, they
F
did.
over you and me and our family. Okay? And this is just my view.
Yeah, again and again and again. And I concur with your view. I concur. Let me ask you a question, because I think Elaine said something a minute ago. She said prescription drugs kill most people.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a dangerous question to ask because I've never asked you this before. Chris, have you killed anybody?
Have I killed anybody? No. Not that I know
of. Chris, I would vote for you.
No death on my side.
Let me say this.
See, look, now you got to get really, really, I consider abortion killing people. Sorry, but it's like I'm pro-choice and pro-life, but it's just some confusing things as well. Like this is the confusing thing that we have as well because we've been believing the narrative of the mainstream, So it's like if you say that women don't have a right to choose with their body, what they want to do with the body, you're wrong, you know. But then if you say that you support life in all of just its natural existence or whatever, you're I don't know, man. It's so crazy how they have us right now. We can't just communicate about it because it's like,
Well,
you can be on the fence about these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know where I default to, we can get into the abortion thing. That's an interesting topic. I'll definitely give you my perspective.
That's really interesting.
I've jumped around on it, but so in terms of voting, my stance is I'm not going to vote for a killer. And what I mean by a killer, I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about, do you know that you're doing something that's murdering people? If you know that you're doing that and you don't give a damn and you keep doing it and it's your model to keep doing it, then no, I won't vote for you. So whether or not I vote again, I can pretty much promise you now, it's not going to be for a political party. Anybody that's in a political party that has a model of slavery, rape, oppression, murder, and war. I promise you that. My disgust for the Democrats is why I laugh all day. Well, I laugh most days. Trump is the president, to be honest with you. Right. I do. I'm sorry. I do. Because a lot of the ills that you went through, a lot of the ills of mass incarceration, most of them currently were done by the Democrats. Republicans did not help. You know, the Democrats, they shut off welfare. They built more prisons under Clinton. They rolled out the crime bill, and it was the perfect screw to turn slavery back on and make a model of building prisons to build up small towns. Like, this is the ugly thing that you'll never really hear much about on the news, is that the biggest way to save a town that loses a coal mine is to put a prison in. And then you stuff people in it. And who was I forgot, I was listening to one of the brothers that was incarcerated that came out and talked about it. He says, you go to these little prisons in these little towns. He says, everybody in the town works at the prison. Everybody. They cook for us. They clean. They do this. They're guards. They're COs. They shine the gates, wash the floors. They do the lawn. These prisons are cotton plantations. They're just plantations. That's all they are. And the Democrats did that. So the Democrat, and and people say, well, but Bernie, my love affair with Bernie came to an end when he started supporting war. Besides the fact, even if someone held a gun, because people say, well, they're making them. Besides that fact, the reality is simply this. You can't send a sheep among wolves and expect that sheep to tell the wolves where the hell to get off. It's not going to happen. So even if Bernie is a good guy, he's not going to be able to do anything good. Whether you still believe Trump is a good guy or not, that's up to you. I try to tell people that if you really look at what's happening, there's nothing different. Even if he is a good guy, deep down, if you really believe that Trump is still a good guy, you sent a sheep in among wolves. There's absolutely nothing a nice guy or a well-meaning guy, to even if it's selective to one group or a country, he's not going to be able to implement it because that's not the model. So when it comes to voting, I can't say that I usually vote for a different party. I don't even know if that's even completely where it's at, but I can't vote for people that are murdering people. I can't vote for people that are rolling out industries that make scarcity their model, that turn on the survival genes in people and make survivalists out of them. That'll never happen. In terms of abortion, that's a rough one, because I was raised in a church. I was raised, like I said, the right way. I was raised in a cult that pretended it knew who Christ was. I was raised in a cult that picked and chose the scriptures that it wanted to follow. And they taught me that abortion was murder.
All right, that's fine.
And so I was completely against it as a young person. The older I got, I looked at the science and the debates, whether or not it's a human being or not, whether it's alive or not. And where I reside today, where we don't have the technology and we don't have the understanding and we don't have the common ground to even approach biologically what any of that is, the rule of thumb is to not be a colonizer. The rule of thumb for me is to not tell other people what to do with their land, their body, vaccination, any of these things. my God that I believe in, I don't know what he is. I don't know. I don't know if he is a he. He could be a she. I don't know anything. It could be a it. I don't even know that.
No, that's real.
What,
See, that's real.
what,
Telling people that nowadays. You don't know if it's he is.
well, I don't know anything on that, but that thing gave people free will.
Mm-hmm.
So abortion is not on me. It's not on me. It's not on me to have any even stake in the debate. It's my stance to honor that God thing and understand that it knew what it was doing. It has faith in whatever it did in giving free will to people. So I don't tell anybody what to do with their bodies. And the other thing where I stopped, Chris, something I guess a couple of weeks ago I was thinking about it, is I was looking for an example in this Bible book where Christ went to Caesar and said, Caesar, I need some laws. I need you to make people do what I want them to do. And I can't find any example of Christ writing laws with Caesar to force people to live the way Christ just said, I love you. It's, I'll try to take care of you, touch my garment, let's heal you, let's feed you, let's do some stuff like that. I love you, and go live your life.
Yeah.
But people who align with this idea that it's a place of a Christian or anybody religious to go to the government and buy laws to force people to live the way they do, I think first of all, it's not Christ-like, so it's not Christian. It's cultish. It's something. It maybe a form of Zionism or something in Christianity, but using the kings and the lords, the Caesars, to utilize force and guns and prisons to force people to do what you want, what you think this God thing that died 3,000 years ago wanted you to do is insanity. So, I mean, my place on the abortion thing is like my place on the religion thing. That's on you. God gave you that ability to do whatever you feel led to do. And I have no place in judging anybody who doesn't. I think if more people had that stance, we wouldn't be in ignorant time. Right now, we are in ignorant time where people are vehemently against abortion, like they know what they're talking about. And there are people who are vehemently for it to a point where people are getting killed over this topic. People are wearing shirts, happy, I got my abortion. Yay! Ha ha ha! In your face. Take some offense, and it's ignorance. It's all ignorance. And we all get caught up in ignorance because we try to offend people. And it's usually starts because we take on these colonizer mindsets of telling other people what to do. Are you frozen? Or are you just like really thinking?
No, I'm about to. I'm trying to read this thing. I'm listening to what you're saying, but I want to read something. I want to read something.
Okay, go for it.
That way I can touch some more on that. And Carter wants to get in the video some more, obviously. Hey, Carter. All right, so this is from Malcolm X. Everybody needs to read this. Everybody that thinks they should vote needs to read this. It's from, I guess it was the thing that he did called The Ballot or the Bullet. I think that's what it's called. Let me make sure. It's called The Ballot or the Bullet. And it's something that Malcolm X wrote or penned back in 1964, I guess.
The ballot or the bullet?
And basically what it's doing is talking about the Democratic Party. Okay? And how the Democratic Party operates. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, people don't know history. People need to look back to history to understand what's going on right now or what happened with Obama. But in it says, I'm going to just take an excerpt. It says, in this present administration, they have in the House of Representatives 257 Democrats to only 177 Republicans. They control 2/3 of the House vote. Why can't they pass something that will help you and me? In the Senate, there are 67 senators who are of the Democratic Party. Only 33 of them are Republicans. Why? The Democrats have got the government sold up, and you're the one who sold it up for them. Meaning he's talking to the voters, by the way. And what have they given you for it? 4 years in office and just now getting around to some civil rights legislation. Just now, after everything else is gone out of the way, they're going to sit down now and play with you all summer long. The same old giant con game that they call filibuster. All those are in cahoots together. Don't you ever think they're not in cahoots together?
Cahoots.
Stop. Cahoots together. Wait, what did you say? for the man that is heading the civil rights filibuster is a man from Georgia named Richard Russell. When Johnson became president, the first man he asked for when he got back to Washington, D.C. was Dickie. That's how tight they are. That's his boy. That's his pal. That's his buddy. But they're playing that old con game. One of them makes believe he's for you, and he's got it fixed where the other one is so tight against you, he never has to keep his promise.
No, cahoots. Cahoots.
That's
cahoots.
This is history, brother. This is history.
It's current. It's today.
It's
cahoots. It is today.
It's right now.
Cahoots, by definition, is a partnership in league, in conspiracy. Cahoots. They are 100% in cahoots and always have been. And this is why, again, we're going back to the voting. And I remember that speech that Malcolm X said. People they get a little loopy when you say Malcolm X because I don't think they know the full history, and it's important for people. Anytime I mention Malcolm X, if he offended you, I always ask you to think about where a man ends up, where a woman ends up, not who they are when they're indoctrinated. He was indoctrinated too, and he fell in with the Nation of Islam. And they, like every other religion, was co-opted. He followed his indoctrination, said a lot of hateful, hurtful things. But as he evolved, as he went to prison, as he evolved, and he realized that the Nation of Islam was in cahoots as well. They were as bad as the Catholics, the Christians, and everybody else, the governments and politicians, that he started to move away from his position of black only. And he began to work with and called to work with white folks. And so I ask people, don't get too loopy when you hear Malcolm X. And plus, listen to the wisdom that people have to say. Don't look so much at their identity, but look at what they have to say and if it's deep and if it's true. And what he said right there was spot on point. Even when it comes to gun control, do you really think the Democrats want to take your guns? First of all, let me say to the right, the Democrats don't want to take your guns. They want you to keep your guns because they want to keep putting everybody in prison. That's number one. They want you to scare their people so their people will continue to vote for you. And if you're a Democrat on your that you think that I know you really believe in gun control outside of the fact that it's against the Bill of Rights. You can't do it anyway. They don't actually want to do it because when they have the power and they just had the power to do anything they wanted to, last administration, they had the television, the news, they had the House. They had everything that they needed, and they refused to pass any gun control. But now they don't have any control. Oh, we got to get some gun control. Every 10 minutes, I can't go anywhere without some gun control because they're playing you. They don't believe the things that they get you excited about. They don't believe anything that you're emotional about. They don't believe any of the talking points they handed down to you. They just know they can control you through them. So no, when it comes to voting, if you're voting Democrat or Republican, no, to me, it doesn't matter. You're voting for the same colonizers, the same exact ones.
That is true, man. That's what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with people who think they're fighting against different entities, and they're not. They're fighting against one party. You know, this has been one party that has found it fit to stay in appearance two parties. That's all it is. It's an appearance of being two parties when these politicians who are in office, who've been in office for many years, they've been working together. They have been working together to keep control of the reins. And how they do that is by continually providing us with lip service. That's all it is, lip service. Why do you think when Obama talked all that stuff about what he was going to do, he didn't really do none of it? So then he said that, oh, I gave y'all affordable health care that the Republicans tried to stop that. It wasn't the Republicans that were trying to stop that. Hold on, what's up? All right, well, thanks for that. It was the corporations that had to make sure that the paperwork, the writings of the policies were proper so that they can profit the entire West. That's what it is. But people think it's, the Republicans are against it, the Democrats are for it. No, it's the corporations who have to get their policies straight. That's what's going on behind the closed doors. Your vote is only a vote to continue this happening. Our vote
So
has
nothing will
only
change.
ever, this is what people not done. If you look at history, our vote has only ever been a vote to continue the corporation to continue to profit, to continue the corporation to profit off of mass war crimes, to continue the corporation to profit off of mass incarceration, to continue the corporation to profit off of miseducation. People don't get it. Public school system is the profiting system. It is not. It can be talked to you like as if it's a not for profit thing, whatever the case. No, the school system is a for profit system because they're profiting off of our children. They're profiting off of the parents' ignorance. They're profiting off of us believing the narrative that the American dream is you got to get a college education. Because if you don't get a college education, you're not living to the potential that you have as a human being. See, this all they've done is taken what we think is the way to live as human beings and told us what we should think is the proper way. You know, because they took all the historical civilizations, they broke down all the great things that these civilizations done, and they wiped out the rich history of it, and they took some of the key pieces that they needed to put into this system. You know, that's why they're able to control the reign worldwide, because they have strategically took all the great pieces in, not the great pieces, but the information, the great information to psychologically oppress us. We're psychologically oppressed. People don't even, that's something that you can't really grasp that because your mind hasn't consumed the information to understand how your own psychology is. You don't even understand your own, I mean, not you, but a lot of people don't even understand how their own minds process or how their own minds.
I don't know. You had it right. You had it. I don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. What I do know, the only things I do know is I tell you, and the things I do know, like you just said, they tell you to go to school, get an education, get a good job, and support this system. And all I see is the slave boats are coming. You need to get your spear, go attack the other tribe, get some other Africans, put them in shackles. So when the slave boat gets here, you can put them on the boat. That's what I just said. When I hear go to school, get a good education, get a good job, work for the banks, make your money, make them a lot of money, keep the colonizers. I hear the same thing as I hear when people say to go vote. I hear the same thing. Prop the system up. Brother, I think it was Brother John and Brother Mark just said it. I just popped it up because they don't want anything to change. Nothing. Brother Jonathan said nothing ever changes. Mark said nothing stays the same if we evolve as we should. We stopped evolving. They've indoctrinated. They've taught us how to stop evolving. We stopped evolving so we can go off and chase money. We stopped evolving so we could get good jobs. We stopped evolving, and we're basically. But the thing is, the 1%, they're still evolving. They're still growing. They're getting better. They're getting more powerful. They're acquiring greater and greater wealth, more and more control, more automation. We're not evolving at all. We're still sitting here fighting each other because we don't like how each other looks. We're fighting each other because you said something, you called me fat and it hurt my feelings. We're fighting each other like children in the daycare while, I don't know, the daycare teachers are planning on just leaving the daycare or blowing it up or something, but we don't have a future. And if we have
the daycare teachers, the teachers, they're all controlled opposition, even when they don't want to be. I talk to teachers a lot, you know, because it's like I'm trying to understand how the teachers, what are they dealing with, and like, you know, the structure of the school. The teachers can't even do, it's so crazy because even the teachers are indoctrinated, and that's what's scary because they're teaching the kids, and the people that are teaching the kids don't even understand that they're indoctrinated. And even when they do see some of the indoctrination, they know that they can't speak out truthfully about it because they have to keep their standards as a teacher in line, which is you just speak on what we tell you to speak about. And if you do toe the line, make sure you do it in a way that is not going to get in the way of the curriculum, I would say. You know, so you can do it, but maybe on the basis where, you know, you pinpoint certain things that happen, you try to give kids understanding, but you're not teaching the kids understanding every day. We should be teaching the kids understanding every day, understanding how to deal with people, understanding how to see the suffering that people are. They don't have a course in school to see suffering. They don't have a course in elementary school education to help deal with the suffering people. They should have a course that teaches kids to go out and help the homeless. They should have the course that teaches kids to help mothers be mothers. They should have a course that teaches the kids all the different aspects of life and how to productively be a human being, as opposed to productively being a business-minded consumer. Because that's what they're teaching. They're teaching us to be consumers, and you see it in the way the parents teach. Go, play, go to school, come home. I got. It's like this. In the inner city, the parents leave the kids outside or leave them on video games because they're so consumed up here with all these different things that their lives, I guess the stressful things like bills, the lack of, the want of the things that you shouldn't want. And it's like, we want all the wrong things. Men want a lot of the wrong things. All men should be seeking to make sure that we uplift women daily in a way that women don't feel trapped to silence their own voices. Because we've created this atmosphere where women don't even want to speak out about the things that they're dealing with because society says, quit your bitching. This is like society says, quit bitching. Stop crying. What are you crying about? What do you mean? Stop whining. No, let women speak to what they're dealing with. And we as men and children, kids should understand and listen. So that way, women don't feel like they have to keep quiet. It's like the Me Too movement. It's sad when you see Me Too movement because it's like, why are women being silent? Who made it okay for women to stay quiet about the things that they're going through? And I realize that the system has been created as such. It tells women to suck it up, deal with it, or be embarrassed. Be embarrassed because of something that's taking advantage of you or something that is eating you alive, and because you'll be weak. They've made it to where if you feel weak for yourself, you're looking at I'm not saying if you feel weak. If you're feeling like you're going through things, if you're dealing with a lot of stress, trauma, mental trauma, or whatever the case is, don't appear weak out there in the world because you'll get eaten alive, So now there's a lot of women who are just going along with it, but they're eating themselves alive. They're eating themselves alive because they don't want the world to they think the world is going to eat them alive. So now they don't tell us, men, whoever, they don't tell people what they're dealing with. They don't tell, we as men as well, we don't tell people what we're dealing with as far as the issues in life. We need to start communicating about these life issues in a way that we understand the suffering on the social level, not just the physical level of not having food, clothing, shelter, homelessness, lack of care, of health, or whatever, but the social level of what work means, what the discomforts are because men are so savage. Like the society we live in is savage. Men we lust after women instead of loving women, and we seek to have a woman as a possession instead of a human being as a partner. We look, and it's kind of weird because people don't even want to be admitted to this in the current relationships that they have. People are in denial about a lot of different things, and that's what's causing the mass suffering amongst our consciousness, is that we're not talking about it. We're just going along with it because it's the framework that has been built in this society is for men to act like they're almighty. They tell us to beat our chest, and if you act like you got a little bit of emotions or feelings or whatever, you're soft. You're soft and you're weak, and you'll get eaten alive, I guess they would say, for men. You're eaten alive, or you won't appear as strong in the eyes of the female. Females are taught to look for strong men. Oh, look for a strong man. Look for a man with money. Look for a man who's going to do this and that. And it's like, we're supposed to be looking for the inner person in all people. We're not supposed to be looking for the fake representative, like I always say, the representative. We're supposed to look beyond the representative, of what they're showing us, because it's not lip service. Like I said, the government, they provided us with lip service of what they're going to do. So now in the relationship, we listen to the lip service of what the men and the women saying they're going to do, and we find ourselves getting into something because we failed to look to the inner of who the person is. And we just believe the lip service of everything they told us they were, you know, or everything told us that. And I mean, I guess this is the fault of how we've learned, because we can't see through deception. I think that's what it is, really. We have a hard time seeing through deception, you know, because we haven't been in the areas of it, you know.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, and I think it's all related in the same thing. And I'm listening to you, and what I hear is we have a problem with priority. We have a problem with sorting out what is the priority in our lives, whether it come from relationship or it come from politics, or come from daily whatever, it comes from work, family. We suck at prioritization, and that way it's easy to get distracted. And many times we want the distraction because real life sucks. Real life is so difficult in some societies that you need those artificial highs and those distractions and to jump on board with the Roseanne or whatever nonsense that's going on because it's entertaining. And entertainers do a good job of it. Half the time I think Hollywood is there just to keep people happy in misery. You know, I think when it comes down to it, I get the poor and the impoverished and the problems they have. Like, you know, when you go to bad neighborhoods, whether it be a trailer park, a ghetto, a barrio, all the same thing, all the same oppressed people, just different colors. You see kids out there playing and moms and dads aren't home. Maybe dad doesn't even live there anymore. You know, maybe mom doesn't live there anymore. That happens too. You know, but you got single parents working 2 and 3 jobs trying to pay for kids. They may get what's going on, but they don't have any time to be focused on anything other than survival. Like the bottom line is I got these kids to feed. The man ran off, the wife ran off, and I got to work these 3 or 4 jobs. So the minute I can get a little bit of happiness and drink a little alcohol, smoke some cannabis or whatever, you know, get involved in some drama to make my survival actually work so I can just get a little bit of laughter 30 minutes in my day so I can get up tomorrow and go get the crap kicked out of me again. I get that with them. I get that. We've built a society that makes survival the default of those who are the worst off. I totally get that they aren't involved in the political process. I get that they're not involved in any of the higher level discussions, because it's designed that way. We outlawed their ability to have jobs. We outlawed their ability to survive. And so they've got to run around like a chicken with its head cut off in order to just put food on the table. So I get it from them. My greatest critiques is on us. My greatest critiques are on the middle class. My greatest critiques are with those who have the money and those who have the time, those who have the ability to focus and prioritize things correctly. Those who, you know, it's one thing if, you know, the struggle, say, of a married couple who are impoverished, their struggle with trying to prioritize spending time, having the money to buy roses, take her out, things like that, do things for him. I get all of those struggles and why their divorce rate is so high. The middle class, they're just stupid, right? And that's really what it comes down to. You have the time and the ability to focus on priority things. You have the time and the ability to say, you know what? Human life is more important than anything else. So I'm not going to talk about healthcare. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to focus on don't kill people. And until we stop killing people, I'm not going to support your party. I need to focus on my wife. You know, I'm tired at work and I'm whatever. I get home, you know, I got kids there going, but I'm going out to the bar anyway, because I want more happiness in my life. And mind you, your life might be miserable, but you aren't the most miserable. And what's happening in this need for all these artificial joys and happiness to make all this sickness going is the middle class is disappearing. Like the middle class, they think they're good to go. You're not good to go. The middle class is becoming the poor. The poor is going to prison or being killed, which they are every single day being shot. And even the wealthy, the upper middle class is being pushed into the middle class. And that is the way this thing is going. And this is why, you know, if you don't have $1 billion in the bank, you all have the same things in common. I always end up going back to the war on drugs, man, basically because the first childhood funeral I ever went to was in Atlanta, Georgia. I guess I was in my young 20s.
Okay.
And I never knew they made caskets that small. This is why I'm against the war on drugs in every form, shape, outside of the fact that it builds up rape culture, outside of the fact that it builds up violent culture, outside of the fact that it's the reason 90% of the guns are even on the street, maybe more than that. I'm against the war on drugs because the people, you can't say sorry after you've killed somebody, right? You can't, and this little kid, I forgot. I think the little kid was like 4 years old or something. He was just in the room, bullets sprayed in, and it's easy to say, oh, well, the drug dealers did it. We need more cops. No, the drug dealers got guns because it's illegal and because the cops got guns. So, of course, they're going to have guns. And so, of course, these little kids are going to get murdered. And this is, and so the thing was but like actually going to a funeral for a little girl who could fit in a cactus, a casket the size of a laptop box. Our priorities are wrong. Priorities in everything are wrong. Until we get our baseline, what's most important in our personal lives, marriage, family, politics, across the board, of just agreeing that we're human beings and we got to support each other. Until we get that right, I don't really hear what other people are saying, to be honest with you. I kind of just hear this. I just, and that to me is why voting doesn't matter, because all of your politicians in both of the popular parties are okay with all of that, and they make money from all of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's some real stuff you're saying, man. Because that's why it's so deep, and that's why it shouldn't be so easy for people to make that decision. Like, they have to really evaluate the pros and cons of voting. Like, you have to really evaluate this stuff. Do you care about humanity? So why would you vote for American government? Why would you vote to keep the American government alive that has rained terror down on more people in humanity than any other government ever, any other government in the history? You know, but we can talk about, oh, well, this government did this government that. Well, behind the scenes were the same actors that are behind the scenes of this American government, not the Trump administration, not the Obama administration, not the Bush administration, the entire organization. The organization is full is not the Democratic Party or the Republican Party as we choose to believe. The organization is being ran like a corporation of businessmen. There are businessmen at the top of the American government that you will never see. You will never see them. You will never know them, because that is how they have set the structure up in the framework of this system. You can't never know them. You can know certain names, okay? Certain names, like people like to mention the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and all that's cool. But now, do you know their descendants? Do you know who's currently in control? Do you know the other families who are along with the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers? Something like this. They're all descendants of other countries. None of these people are descendants of America. There are no acting American politicians who are American, like people want to believe. There are no acting American politicians who came from these lands, like they want you to believe. The flag does not represent these lands like they want us to believe. So what we're voting for really is this. We're voting to continue the lie. We're voting to continue the fairy tale. We're voting to continue us living in a fantasy land. And it's like people have become so comfortable with living in that fantasy land that people have pushed truth away. They pushed it away at every turn. And
they don't want to see it.
Yeah, they don't see it. And they fail to see the people who are speaking the truth. They don't want to see it. They don't want to. I don't want to hear what he has to say.
I don't want to hear it.
It's not lining up to what I've been taught by these American fraudulent actors. Okay, this is the land of fraud. Okay, this is the land of fraud. But people don't even understand fraud to know that. People don't understand. People only understand history from American eyes. How can you really understand what's going on if you haven't first allowed yourself to look and view history without thinking American. Think human.
Yeah.
Think human and then go visit history.
Yeah.
Don't think American at all. Think
Yeah.
human and go visit the Hitlers, the dynasty, the China, the Asian dynasties, the European dynasties, the kings and the lordships and the Roman actors, the priests of Rome who weren't godly priests, who weren't priests of the word of God. No, they were studying the sky. They were studying science. They were studying all these natural things back in Rome. The priests of Rome, and as well as the historical writings of scripts or scrolls or whatever the case is, they weren't championing and preaching Jesus Christ and Mary and this and that. That came about in the new era because they wanted to take the history away from our mind. And they've done that. So now we only look and start from the year zero. I guess it's not even such thing as the year zero because, it went from straight BC to AD. It's like what happened between BC and AD? Like, before Christ and after death. So is the timeline of that when before Christ came, when Christ came, the 30 or 33 years start there? And so we're missing we're missing 33 years from before Christ to after death? Because what is the years? What is the information in the middle? You know what I'm saying, G? What is the information in those span of years? Where's that information at? People don't have it because people don't know how to research it. People are so stuck on what they've been told that they don't know. Take your mind out of American indoctrination. Put on your human mind, okay? Put on your human cap. Take your American cap off, put the human cap on, and then you'll start to see all the inconsistencies. And then you'll start to see that, wait, this really is a two-part, this really is a one-party system that is trying to present itself as a two-party. The Green Party, I love a lot of the Green Party. I love a lot of things they're doing, a lot of the people that's working on behalf of the people, but they're not going to be effective in this rate. They're too far behind.
There's a lot of work. Right. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that has to be done. And
there's 100 years worth of work to be done, G. They don't have 100 years of work to be doing the corrupt way. You can't do 100 years of corrupt work and try to infiltrate the system that has already been built, secured, and framed to where it's almost impenetrable. The only way we can penetrate their defense system is by putting on our human mind, by thinking with compassion, by talking with love, by trying to communicate with your friends and your family with a human mind. We have to push. It's like, how they push away truth? It's sad to say this, but we have to push away that American logic as well. We have to say, no, we can't speak. If you want to speak on this topic with the American logic, we can't have this conversation. Because first, that viewpoint that you're giving me or bringing to this conversation is distorted. It is not a viewpoint that you developed on your own. It is a viewpoint that was guided for you. You've been guided to think and feel how you've been feeling and thinking. And people can't see, people don't want to admit that first thing right there. They don't want to admit that they've been guided into the way that they think. They've been guided into the way that they view certain things. So when black people or white people see black people or white people as this way or that way, they've been guided to think that way. But then when you put on your human mind and your human cap, you start to see, damn, I was deceived. This really is my brother. This really is my sister. Their struggle is just like my struggle. They're getting schemed on the same bills that I'm getting schemed on. They're paying for water the same way I'm paying for water, and water is free. They're paying for this food they're paying these astronomical prices for these food products because of inflation or whatever, but the pay wages are still the same for all of us, more or less. It differs when you get into certain positions or whatever, but that's even another problem because the inequality is ever present. The inequality is there. There has been inequality the entire length of this American system of operation. And for people to ignore that is exactly why we're suffering the way we're suffering now, because people are ignoring the truths that have been present for so long. And they're saying that we have to ignore those truths and work on what we're dealing with right now with the Trump administration. So it's like the history, it doesn't matter because the Trump administration is what we face today. Well, why weren't people saying that about the Obama administration? because the Obama administration got away with murder, got away with theft, got away with fraud, got away with corruption. But it didn't matter then because people felt comfortable that their face, their representative was in office, or the person that they thought that they were guided to think was representing them, when the man wasn't representing the people at all. The man was representing the corporations, which he learned to represent. Obama didn't go to public schools. Obama didn't grow up in Obama. They get people so easily. Oh, Obama's dad was from Kenya, so Obama's got black lineage in him. So we should champion Obama for being a man that was prosperous in America, even though, like they said, that he stayed with his mother for the majority of the time, and going to find out his mother was actually affluent in many ways, in many circles. But people don't even look to it. See, you got to research. If you can try, research Obama's family history, starting with his mother. You know, research the family history. The black side of the family was beautiful, by the way. It looks beautiful, but you have to research the entirety of everything. Don't take things for face value. Dig deeper than what you see on the surface. You know, because on the surface it looks like it's nice and the grass is green and everything, but when you start digging, that's when you start to get into the real truth of it all. Underneath that pretty grass is filthiness. You know, it's filthiness. That grass is actually artificial grass. You feel me, bro?
It's not even real grass.
It's not real grass. It's artificial. So when you dig, it's fake. It's fake below here. You know, people don't even dig to realize that it's artificial grass.
But they don't want to, Chris. They don't want to because they've outsourced critical thought, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. I'm a 40-some-year-old man, a 30-some-year-old woman, whatever. I'm playing video games, enjoying my life, go out drinking, do some shopping, got a decent job. I don't want to think about politics. I don't want to think about things I can't really affect or change. I'm going to take everything they hand me and I'm just going to cheer it. My side is the Democrat or my side is the Republican. I will always vote for them. I'm not going to utilize any critical thought, and I'm just going to keep running with it. And this is what they do: is they outsource critical thought. They outsource their intellectuality, and they buy everything that's handed to them. If it's handed to them by the right color, you know, color of a pen, if it's a political party or whatever, if it's the right, left, and that's replicated in all countries everywhere. They outsource it, but the thing when it comes to, and it's not Obama, it's not Trump. I don't fight the Trump administration. I have no problems with the Trump administration. The Trump administration is the same administration that's been in place since I was born. So I'm not fighting Trump in any way, shape, or form. My issue is with the establishment. My issue is with the underlying that allows murder and human beings to be encaged. Whether that's the Rothschilds or whoever it is, I don't know. What I do know is our activity, our lifestyles prop it up. We keep it going. And so outside of trying to figure out who are the current families who are holding the wealth and the land that they all killed and robbed our ancestors for and everything they've done, all the history they've deleted, I know that they need my money. I know that they need my intellect. I know that they need my vote. I know that they need my support. They need my cheering them. I know that they need me to take them seriously. I give them none of it at all. I give them absolutely none of it. They can't have my vote. They can't have my seriousness. I don't take them seriously. I can't take you seriously if you're shooting kids that are running out of border and you're murdering them and you're still sending $10 million a day to them. I can't take you seriously if, Brother Gal just mentioned Henry Kissinger, one of the greatest war criminals ever, who is still free walking this planet, responsible for killing millions. He might actually even outdo Hillary Clinton, who half of the country voted for. Like, I can't take any of it seriously because what you do isn't serious. What you say isn't serious. You talk about how you can't talk with people because they're just really out in left field, alien land. They're not even speaking English. It's because they're not. I don't take them at all seriously. They get no support until it's like my conversations are always based on don't kill people. Don't murder them. We talk all day till we're blue in the face about the other little silly topics, but we got to have that bare bones base sentient belief. And the reality is the majority of people right now don't. And so as long as they don't, because they've outsourced it, because they're enjoying their life. Go ahead.
No, as long as they're not American people. Yeah. As long as don't you can kill people as long as they're not American. Now when you start killing American people, we gotta go crazy. They killed America. See, it's like this. This is what I'm telling you. G is so crazy, man. They have us trapped. They have us cornered. So it's like this. Las Vegas incident, whether it's a false flag, fake, whatever, people died. American people died. So American people felt sorry. Palestine, people died. A lot of children died.
Yep.
Women died, innocent. American people don't care because it's not America. Think about that. They cared about the Las Vegas incident, but they don't care about Palestine. They cared about the school shootings in Florida, but they don't care about the bombs being dropped in Syria. They cared about... It's crazy, man. It's crazy. How can you care about only a certain group of people and then act as if, I don't want to say a good person, but act as if that's humane. In my eyes, that's inhumane. To say that I only care about a particular group of people because I've been taught that way. I only care about the particular group of people because they're the ones that live around me. And even in America, we can talk about it. So it's like this. Black people die at the hands of police. It doesn't matter to certain white people because they really don't care about black people anyway. So I can see how easy it is for the majority of a lot of the white people not to care about Palestine because they don't care about the people that's dying inside of America either. So it's like it's easy for them.
But it works because Black Lives Matter. So they don't care about white lives matter either. It's everywhere. It's on all sides. Everyone cares about their little indoctrinated community, their own little selective racial racism hate type thing. And you're right. But you know what? I think it's good, Chris. I think it's good. And the reason why I think it's good is because the humans are starting to see the psychopaths for who they are. That's why I think it's good. I think it's good because it's so obvious now. It's so obvious that you have hate in you. You have a lot of hate in you. You actually talk about how you care about love and you care about people, but you actually don't. And I think it's fantastic. There has been no other time in history that it's been more obvious that very murderous bands of people run our country and they're supported by our world. And they're supported by a whole lot of millions of people who are okay with murder too. That's the great thing. That's the phenomenal thing about today, because now it's not a secret. Now it's obvious. Now we actually get to see who is a human being. Now we get to see who actually has love in their heart. Now we get to see where it's obvious to the Christians, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the atheists, everybody, that they've been backing the most evil, murderous groups of people that have ever existed on this planet. And if they continue to do it, then we can make good decisions about who they are, right? So I think it's a good thing. I think everything works the way it's supposed to, brother. I think that everything unfolds how it should. Brother Shane posted something earlier talking about building sustainable communities. And that's where that is completely where we have to go.
Yeah, we had to be there. We had to be there 10 years ago, bro.
It's 20 years ago. It's time to exit it. You know, it's like you mentioned yesterday. We're all hypocrites. If anybody here thinks that I'm talking bad about you and not about myself, you're not listening to what I'm saying. We are all hypocrites. Now, we got hypocrite percentages and spectrums. We have those of us, perhaps, who know.
You're up here, buddy. You're up here, buddy.
Hypocrite level 22 and hypocrite level 7. You know, So we have that. But you know what? But even if you are
a hypocrite, you're evolving. Your hypocrite is evolving.
You know, but even if you are at that high hypocrite level, at least you accept that you're a hypocrite. You're better than the people who don't even care, who don't give a damn. So even if but we're all hypocrites. And the thing is that, I don't know about the other countries out there, and this is why I love what Brother Shane said, is that if you live in America, you're supporting all of this. Now, you may only be supporting a little bit of it, but if you're buying food, you're using water out of the infrastructure, you're voting, you're driving a car, no matter what you're doing, you're supporting slavery, murder, sending 10 million a day to Israel and funding ISIL and ISIS, and they're using human shields. We fund all of it. And if you live in America,
how's Pakistan doing?
Right, but is Pakistan even still there?
People don't know that. U.S. controls Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iraq.
Is Yemen, right? Is Yemen even still there? But the thing is this: is it still? Are the people even still alive? But the thing is, even outside the fact that we're starving 20 million people and we're perfectly happy and okay with it, and no media talks about it ever. It's just an acceptance that this society has to stop. And this is why I'm talking about what Brother Shane said, which is we all need to start working our hypocrisy level down. Who do you work for? Where do you buy your things for? How much of food are you starting to grow? Are you joining a CSA? Are you growing organically? Are you putting some solar panels on your house? Are you driving an electric car? What are you doing to reduce the level of your hypocrisy after you know that our society is based on a model of you having to be a hypocrite or you're in prison? In fact, let me say that. That's the only group of people who aren't hypocrites in America. And that is the people who are incarcerated. If you are incarcerated, you are absolutely under no control of your hypocrisy. You are forced into that. Only they are the ones who aren't propping all of this up. And so we have to go in a more sustainable direction.
Some of them, because some of them, even in there, they got the colonizer mindset in the jail.
But that's true.
That's how they divide the brothers up. Inside there, it's divided up, brother. It's like the streets. It's just divided up into factions. You got skinheads. That's how the movies try to present it much worse than it is. It's not like the movies. It's not like locked up in jail. They don't show all of it. It's not like that. It's not so controversial every day where dudes are getting stabbed and fighting every day. It's bad, but it's still to the point where the dudes in there are still a community as one. It's like the guards of the government, the warden is the president, and the inmates are the subjects, I guess. And they have to find a way to, communicate, work together to get the things they need. Like, in there we had to do I guess you would call it a fast. I don't know what it is. When you protest, you had to protest and get the food back. Everybody on the block had to get the food back in order for us to get bargaining power. You know what I'm saying? So we had to stand together. It was like, what did they call that? You starve yourself or something? A hunger strike. All right, it was a hunger strike.
Right.
We had to do a hunger strike because we weren't getting no activity. And we were locked down for 24 hours a day. Locked down in the cell, can't get out. The only time you can get out is if you had the group on the stretch that was lucky enough to take showers. So think about this. I was going 3 days without showering in this nasty mind place. I had to shower in the sink, whatever the case is. And the sink is really small. You was 6 by 9 cell, whatever. But we had created it to where we had to try to go on a hunger strike to get leverage. Dudes wasn't about that life. Dudes like, yo, I need this because this is my mind is, your mind is trapped in it. So our minds on the outside are trapped as well.
Yeah.
In the face of adversity, you think that you can't sacrifice certain things for the benefit of the whole. You think it's like the way that they created in their minds, we need food every day. You need 3 meals a day. If you don't get 3 meals a day, you're not nutritional or this and that. We don't really need 3 meals a day. We need to train our bodies to understand what our bodies need throughout the day. We don't need to be told what our bodies need. We are all individuals. So how is the nutritional value system, sorry for this people, that was created on white man's terms about white man's health, about white man's bodies, going to be for all people? You know, and that's kind of foul because it's a cheat for ourselves. We can see this inconsistency, but we don't address it. How is the healthcare system that was a healthcare system based and tested off of white men for white people going to tell black people that it aligns with the same issues and problems for their health as well? And it's like, wait a minute, we're accepting this stuff, brother. We're accepting this stuff. Like, it's real.
You got me thinking. Hold on. I'm scratching my head. I'm sorry. I gotta stop you. This is deep. You guys, the lights going off, and I don't say anything is gonna go away. You know me. I did the whole white black thing. I avoid, but I hear what you're saying. It is, you know, I'm having a Dr. Sebi moment. I don't know if you heard of Dr. Sebi, but he believes in like genetic medicine, right? If you're from Ireland, your body evolved to eat herbs and plants and things that are in Ireland for the past couple thousand years. So when you'll get sick if you don't eat the things that are complementing of the microbiology from Ireland, from the herbs and things that you ate most. If you're from Africa, you need to be eating things in that part of Africa that you're from. You're from South America. And he learned that from going from, I think he was almost dying. He had diabetes and a lot of things. He was really, really sick. He went to Brazil, and, you know, this famous herbalist who was healing people and said, heal me. And the guy said, I can't heal you, black man. I don't know if he said that. He said something like that, but he said, you're not from Brazil. You're from Africa. You're from, in what part of Africa you're from. You need to go find out what them herbs are from over there, because that is complementing with the microbiology and the DNA in your body for the past couple thousand years that hands down from generation to generation to thrive on whatever the compounds are in those plants. It's interesting to me what you just said, and I think it's deep as the ocean.
It's way deep.
Because when you take a person who didn't evolve, who hasn't spent the last couple thousand years eating that particular type of food, you are certainly going to cause them some sort of medical dis-ease, not necessarily disease, but dis-ease. But that gets back to the whole concept. I'm sorry, you just like really made me think about something. I got some research to do. But
no, I get researching because it's kind of interesting. Like when I research it, I'm like, damn, they just spend us for a whole spin, because when you look at the dairy chart and the food dairy chart, you can see like all the inconsistencies of how we live. We're told to eat meat, we're told to eat dairy, we're told to eat this and that, cheese and milk and all this and that. But it's like, where in the history of ancient civilizations did they say it was okay to eat these things? And
well, let me tell you where that came from. So that came from people who lived in colder climates, right? When you live in colder climates, you're living off of dairy and more animal meats. In fact, the further north and south you go, you end up in places where, like the Eskimos, where they have almost a diet completely existing on all meat. And if you took the typical American or someone from a moderate tropical climate and you put them on an all meat diet, they would die soon, right? So our bodies evolve over time. And so the diets that are high in dairy, high in meats, they come from colder climates, which theoretically makes a lot of sense in terms of, you know, in Europe and places where they were colder, in the wintertime, they couldn't grow food. And what they didn't store, they ate off of the animal fat, the meat, the eggs, things like that. And you have some tropical countries and tropical islands where they exist purely on eating vegetables and fruits.
Yeah. It comes down to environments, and that's another interesting thing. Is like we were never taught how to break that down. You know, we were never taught how to break down the environment and how certain things may affect the intake. The intake of certain foods may adapt to certain environments or may not be able to adapt or withstand certain environments. And it's kind of crafty because if you don't believe the science information coming out of the mainstream, you're a conspiracy theorist. But it seems as though in this era, we all have to be conspiracy theorists to question everything coming out of the mainstream, because this era, this current age of information has shown us that they're lying. Not only is the media lying or being deceived
Empirically.
people, the politicians are lying.
Truth.
Not only are politicians are lying and being deceitful, the corporations are lying. Not only are the corporations lying and being deceitful, the education system is lying.
Truth.
The colleges are lying. The religions are lying. I'm not, and it's kind of scary when you say this because they don't know that they're. Look, it's like this. A lot of them, they don't know that they're lying. They really don't know that they're lying because they believe this stuff and they've been believing this stuff all their life. So now, when it comes time to question what they've been believing for 40 or 50 years, how do you deal with that? How do you, especially when it's somebody like me, when I come on the scene, I'm like, look, you thinking all wrong. Close your American eyes and open your human eyes. You know what I mean? I don't say it like that, but I try to get people to do that now. Like, be more human. Don't be less American. People are offended by that. Back to the offensive thing. People are offended when you tell them that they need to be more human than American. I did a good interview. See, man, I'm messed up. I'm supposed to tell people about this radio interview I did. And it's this guy, he interviewed me, Vinny, shout out Vinny, on this radio station. But people should check that out because we were talking about the need to make humanity great again. But in terms of our communication, we are severely lacking. And life, every day, life is still beautiful.
It is.
Every day, life is still glorious.
It is.
Every day we wake up, there's love, positive energy, togetherness, community, all about it. But the thing that we must do as individuals is seek it out. Okay, we have to seek out this life. We have to seek out this togetherness. We have to seek out this community. We have to seek out the love and the positive energies that are all around us.
Yeah.
But what they have done was convince us to seek otherwise. Seek out the money. Seek out the money. Seek financial freedom before mental freedom.
Yep.
What the hell? I was chasing my whole life. I was seeking financial freedom, and the whole time something smacking me in the back of my head saying, "Yo, dummy, wake up! Seek human freedom. Seek your freedom is right there at your grasp. Wake up." And it took me a lot to go through to wake up. Having a son, the kids, and going through relationship problems or whatever, family looking at me. But I woke up to not how they think. Oh, I woke. The era nowadays when you're like, you're woke. Oh, we're woke. Whoa, I'm woke. I was
okay.
Even when I was like on the progressive train, it felt like that. I really never felt like I was woke because I'm like, damn, no, I ain't woke because there's still more to learn. How am I woke when I can? There's endless things to learn, so I never could be woke to the point to which we all as humans need to be woke at. You know what I mean? Because every day we can evolve. Every day you can learn whether you're 5, 50, 100. You still have the ability to learn and evolve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hear you.
We're stuck. We're stuck in place.
Well, I hear you. I don't think anybody's woke. I like the word woke, but I'm not woke. No, I'm not woke AF. I don't know what woke means. You know what I am?
I'm going to look up who the hell made woke up. Who the hell discovered the term woke? Oh yeah, we woke, y'all. Somebody made that term and then got co-opted by being cool as hell. And if you woke, it's trendy. It's trendy. It's cool. It's the thing. You feel like you're in the in crowd, and now you're actually you're actually aligning with something that you're so far from.
Right.
Okay? You're so far from being woke, but you don't know that.
Yeah. Because they don't know.
They don't know, bro. It's so scary. It's like I had to distance myself. That's why I had to distance myself from the progressive community because I'm like, first of all, I wasn't progressive. I only kind of messed with them because I kind of aligned with more of what they cared about than like liberals and conservatives and whoever else you have out there. But I never was progressive. And I realized that because I'm still a little bit liberal. I'm still a little bit conservative. I'm left, right, all about. I'm everywhere. I'm various. We're all, as people, various. We are all a variety of the left, the right, the center, the up, the down, around or whatever. You got a little bit conservative in you. You got a little bit of liberal in you. You got the progressive in you. You might have more than others, but it's like you said about the hypocrisy thing. It's percentages. You know, you have to understand the percentages of what you have in you, but understand that above all, you're human, baby. You're human before anything.
Let me go there.
Attach yourself to these labels, you're giving away your human power. You know, we got to elevate our human. I don't know what the word. We need a new word or something.
Yeah, I know what a word doesn't work. The word doesn't work because, well, for one reason, people don't know what human is. Yeah, you still have people who preach that being human is being violent. Being human is warring and fighting, because humans have done that since the beginning of time. And the reality is, we, number one, don't know what humans did since the beginning of time because the colonizers deleted all the history. And two, I love what you said about being woke, because I think the more you're waking, the more you realize you got boogers in all your eyes. I think that's what it is. I think I'm kind of like just waking up. I got like one eye open, and I'm realizing I got a little drool right here. It's getting crusty, and I'm wiping some boogers out this side. The more boogers I wipe out this eye boogers, y'all, not real boogers. I got some eye boogies over here. And, you know, you wake up and your eyes, you can't see real clear. I think I'm kind of doing that, but the more I'm somebody shaking me, the more I'm realizing, damn, I'm getting sleepier. The more I'm shaking, I'm realizing that I'm actually less woke every day. Every single day, I'm realizing. So, but I think we wake to certain things, right? Yeah. We can wake to what a colonizer is and how we all are. We can wake to we're all hypocrites. We can wake to everything we do. Even though we say we're against the prison system, it funds the prison system. That pretty much every American industry is a part of that. Yeah. We can wake to the good things our party is doing, but we're refusing to wake to the bad things. So I don't think we're all really woke, but we can wake to something beautiful, which is what you just said. We can wake to how awesome our lives are, how amazing most of our countries are, how beautiful it is. You can look at the news and the world is falling apart. Bombs are dropping, craziness. Do you see it out your window? Yeah. People getting shot everywhere. Do you see it? Do you hear gunshots going on?
Yeah, right.
Beautiful. Right. It's wonderful. And so we got to figure out, what are we going to do with all that beauty? Are we going to take all that beauty? And like, there's a reason why it's beautiful. There's a reason why it's peaceful. There's a reason why we don't hear gunshots and bombs being dropped, because they're dropping them somewhere else. Yep. There's a reason why we enjoy our freedom. It's different. They've taken it from others.
They had bombs. Think about that. They came here without bombs. You think they wouldn't have dropped a bomb on this mother if they had a chance? Oh, look at them natives. We gonna get them out of here easily. We don't have to use no guns or hard work, or we don't have to. We ain't got the hand-to-hand combat with them, y'all. We could just drop a bomb on them and wipe them out, and then we'll just take all the ships and go over there and bring the slaves. But they didn't have that capability at the time. So you know what they had to use? The weapons, the diseases, the alcohol. You know, they had to use everything to their advantage.
But the number one weapon, don't forget about the number one weapon. The number one weapon, one of my Native American friends told me about it, was turning the tribes against each other. That was the number one weapon. The number one weapon was the same weapon they used in Africa, which is the same weapon they use right now with these political parties and this left and right and this nonsense. Is they always find some sellouts who are selectively woke to turn on other poor people. Yeah. And that's what they did when they got here. They gave guns to some to go murder their friends, the other tribes, or defend their whatever they were going to do. And they fought on the sides of the colonizers. And when the colonizers were done with those Native Americans, they turned on the ones they gave the guns to. And this was a colonizer strategy going back to the beginning of history, where they always utilize it. And the strategy hasn't changed. But the thing I think about is all this beauty that we have, all this peace that we have. What are we doing with it?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Are we going and sitting down at the cafe and meeting new people and sharing these ideas
Mm-hmm.
and talking about sustainability, not just in planting food, but in sustainability politically, sustainability socially, sustainability amongst all the different classes. Are we just sucking up all this good air for ourselves? We just sucking it in and how beautiful things are and sending our kids out in the yard to play because they're safe and they're free. Don't give a damn about anybody else in any other country that are actually paying for that freedom. They try to convince you the soldiers are paying for it. Our soldiers don't pay for our freedom. Our soldiers work for banks and corporations. It's the people in the other countries that are doing the mining, the forced labor, and the slavery that are paying for all this. These devices we got now that we're even broadcasting us. Are we utilizing any of this beautiful freedom and this wonderful peace that we have to give other people around the world a little more peace?
And that's what we have to do. We have to start from the bottom and work our way up. We have to dig to the core of who we are and work our way up. We have to shed those layers. We have to shed that skin, and we have to, in our minds, we have to shed those layers in our minds and rebuild. That's what deprogram. Shed those layers. Deprogram those layers of deceit, corruption, lies. Reprogram with love. Reprogram in the beauty of life, in the beauty of knowing that there are people out there different, but still we have way more in common than what the differences they try to present to us. We have everything in common.
Everything.
And that's what keeps me going, brother. I know we have so much more in common, and I know that this is our time to come together because the history has been against us forever, and we are all seeking to see and live in a new way. And that's why I really believe. People are not willing to say it, but people all kind of feel it. They want to live in a new way, but they can't because they're trapped within the 9 to 5 or the structure of going to college and finishing that degree and getting that degree. And now they got to pay. They got to chase what they've already did. You have to work to pay for those loans. You can't just say, no, I'm not going to pay the loans. They're going to come to you. They're going to still come. They're going to be there. You think we're chasing credit. Credit, you don't need credit. Credit should be non-existent because if you need credit, that means you shouldn't have it.
It means you can't afford it. That's what my grandfather used to say. He said, if you can't buy it on cash, you can't afford it.
Yeah, you can't afford it. You don't need it.
You shouldn't buy it. If you can't afford that car and you can't afford to buy it cash, you're actually buying something that you can't afford. You either need to get a better job, a higher paying one, or don't buy it. Look at what Brother Robert said. Things like this we don't think about, and we don't. If you know who the enemy is, who your enemy is, then it's easier to identify who the allies are.
Yeah.
And this was a very true fact where the CIA, and this was only one occasion. I mean, pretty much every war we've gotten into has been some sort of a false flag where they're okay with killing American citizens so they can invoke our tribal racism, American nationalism nonsense to go kill other people. If you have a government that's conspiring to kill you and you're still voting for that government, maybe we deserve extinction. Like, if we aren't that bright to understand that these people don't like us, we're just pawns to these people, and it's both political parties. It's everybody. Even the politicians we love, the ones are heroes. They're the same ones that are still going along with all of this.
Real talk. And that's where we're stuck, man, because it's like people still place their hopes, dreams, aspirations in a representative. People don't place their hopes, dreams, and aspirations within themselves, because if you had the millions, think about this is just simple mathematics, the millions of people that vote, if they would instead act on what they claim to be voting for individually in their lives and in their communities, we wouldn't have to vote because we would be helping each other. We wouldn't have to vote because we would be communicating in a way that we would bankrupt the corporation. We would bankrupt all the systems and institutions of deceit and corruption. We would put such a black eye or such a black hole in the American government that we would get our bargaining power. You know, we would get our bargaining power back, maybe that we never had. Or it's like this: we would be able to do things in such a way that allows our children to have the freedom to choose. You know, our children don't really have the freedom to choose what they want to do, what they want to be. Our children. You hate. Get out of here, hater. You hate. Why are you hating all the time? Why you always being a hater, man? Dang, don't be a little hater. But yeah, we would do things that are teaching the kids in a new way, because we have to teach. This is what it really is for. I'm almost finished. We can play it a little. I'm almost finished. All right, I'm almost finished, really. All right. You want to put a mug on me? I got a mug. But listen, we want to make sure that we adapt to the times that are going on in a truthful manner. That's what it is. We have been adapting to lies and corruption. So now our lives have been filled with lies and corruption. Now we're chasing the lifestyles that have been built in these lies and corruption, talking about the need to get away from these lifestyles that have been built in lies and corruption. Because we say that, oh, the corporations are doing this, they're capitalizing off everybody. The corporations are taking advantage of people, but in our own lives, we're supporting that because we spend money at those. We spend money at the same places that these corporations are taking advantage of people. We spend money at the same places that the corporations are utilizing for globalization of, you know, and the outsourcing of jobs to the point where we're making kids like this, they're becoming workers in factories. You know, kids like this are becoming workers in factories overseas at the age of 6.
Yes.
They're smart. They're smart to create and build and work for overseas companies or work for American companies overseas because we're dumb enough to ignore it. We're dumb enough to allow it to continue. You know, and it's like we have to stop being so gullible. We have to stop being so vulnerable, but we have to stop easily believing the lip service, easily believing the lies. We have to seek to educate one another outside of the mainstream. You know, like we're doing now, we're trying to educate. Like I get a lot of knowledge and information from you, as well as a lot of other people that I wouldn't get from the mainstream. And if I didn't get this knowledge, I wouldn't be able to evolve in the way that I think. And that is how we all need to act. We need to act in the way that we're trying to help each other evolve. So that way we can pass on this knowledge to the youth so they don't fall into the same mental narration that we fell into. America is the best of everything. You have to be patriotic. I did a bit on the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance, and this stuff is crazy. The Pledge of Allegiance, hold on, stop. I can't. You're trying to choke me. You're trying to choke me now. Oh my God, you're trying to choke me. Oh, you're trying to choke me. You're trying to choke me now. Get off. All right, wait, hold on. All right,
I want to hear something Brother Aslan said.
All right. Go ahead. I've seen that. That's awesome. That's so true, man.
See, I'm going beyond. I'm with them. I've gone beyond corporations. Money is evil. Money.
That's the first corporation of America, right there.
You can't get away from slavery if you don't get away from money. And that is a sick, evil reality that a lot of people don't want to accept. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to accept it either. Yeah. I completely did not want to accept it. I came from a libertarian background, and I know that capitalism can be utilized for good things, but it never will be, because capitalists always design capitalism. And so whatever implementation you get, it's always going to be evil. And just the relationship between money and forced labor. Money only exists to pay human beings to do something. That's the only reason money even exists. And so money's going away, which is a great thing, but it's not going away until the robots do the labor, because robots don't need paychecks.
They don't need nothing.
Right. They don't need anything. The thing is, but the money is going to stay. They're going to keep the money till the end, because once they finally have the robots doing it, then they don't have to talk to you. They don't have to negotiate with you. They don't have to talk about healthcare. They don't have to talk about any of those things that you care about. So if people can open their minds enough to the concept, I'm not saying embrace it right now because it's a hard thing to swallow. But as long as money exists, like, it's one thing to just start to realize corporations shouldn't exist.
Okay.
But it's another thing to realize money shouldn't exist.
That's
Because
hard thing to realize.
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing because then it means that you got to start to act on that truth. It means that you got to stop storing it up in the bank for your retirement. You gotta stop prioritizing the job that pays you the most money and start to prioritize the job that does the least slavery, the job that does the least damage to our environment, the jobs that don't support war directly, that don't support the prison system and politicians directly. When you realize like money is why people are divided, money is why people aren't woke, money is why our world is broken, then we can start to have real conversations on how to fix it. But if you can't open your mind up big enough to the concept of the root problem, the root of all of our problems, then I don't think we can actually have a real discussion on how to have a world that doesn't have slavery. Because all we're doing, Chris, is we're fighting to enslave each other. That's all we're doing. All we're doing is I'm fighting to get more money to make someone on the bottom more of a slave that I don't want to be. So it's easy to look back at slavery from 300 years ago and chastise them. It's not easy to look at your slavery today. That's what I like to look at my slavery today so I can teach my kids the right way.
Yeah, that's what it is. We all have to look at our slavery today, and we all have to be admitting that we're mentally captivated and enslaved in the system. Because when you really, really think about it, what are the taxes going to? That's our enslavement right there.
Israel, military.
Look, bro, I had to quit my job because I'm like, damn, I'm beating myself up in my mind because I'm like, I know I'm working not only to further myself, I guess you could say, in this American lifestyle, but behind the scenes or underneath the surface, I'm actually working to continue the slavery of a mass of people, not only in America, but worldwide. And I'm like, man, I can't. I was really stressing. I was stressing so bad about this stuff. I couldn't even, because every time I looked at my paycheck, I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. And this is what they're telling me that I have to rely upon being mentally enslaved, knowing that some of my earnings are going to the very institutions that are enslaving my people, that are enslaving our children. And I was like, I said, look, I quit. If I'm going to work, I'm going to do it under the table to where I get straight cash, to where I know it's not being tainted or there's not blood on my money. But people can't do that. People can't just wrap their minds around doing that because they built up these lifestyles that they're chasing. See, that's the thing. People are chasing the lifestyles that they've been force-fed. Oh, get that big house that you can't afford. Get that car that you can't afford. Buy the clothes that you don't need, but you're going to pay with the credit card because now you can afford it because you'll just pay a little bit of interest on the back end of it all, but you really don't need all the stuff. I was reading these books on like Buddhism and stuff like that, and that's when I understood simple living. That's when I understood living with less. Living with less is actually living with more. But you can't really grasp and understand that until you actually give away much of the excess that you've been living and wrapping your mind around. You know what I mean? We've wrapped our mind. We're so worried about, oh, my car is this. Oh, my house is messed up, or this is messed up. Oh, my clothes is there. My clothes is this. It's like we're worried about all the stuff that should not matter. We're worried about possessions or things more than we're worried about people. Think about this. People care more about their BMW than they care about the little kids suffering with no food to eat. This is what they'll say. Oh, I earned this BMW. Well, I'm sure you earned it, and I'm sure you're getting help paying for it, but I'm sure you're paying more than it actually costs, even though they lied to you about the real true cost, but you're still paying more than the true cost because you're paying interest on it because you got to finance, and then you get taxed from the insurance companies because they've got the policies behind them to where they can just rape us out of our earnings on the back end of it all because they force us to have insurance. But I mean, I get it, but it's all a system of corruption. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's a system that is based on deception, corruption, and I want to say misinformation because it is. If people understood it, they would realize that they don't have to live with so much. if people understood it, they would teach their kids not to chase all this Hollywood, the stuff they see on Hollywood. Like anything you see on TV, you shouldn't buy. Anything you see on TV, anything they're selling you on TV, anything they're advertising to you when you're walking around and about, don't buy it. I'm not gonna say anything, but 90% of the stuff, don't buy it.
Let me go.
100% of the prescription drugs, 100% of the prescription drugs they tell you on TV, don't buy it, don't fall for it.
You started.
Like, oh, you suffering from your mind, got this in your mind, that, go buy this prescription. That's my favorite joint because I can't forget it. Right here. That's the hook. They sing it to you in the joint. And now you want to receive it because you feel like you need it for your ailments or whatever. Now you receive it, right? Because that's what they did with the nicotine packets. They told smokers, "Hey, smokers, we gotta wait for you to get off. Use these nicotine packets." Knowing damn well the nicotine is not going to really help you get off. It's just a suppressant of your desire to smoke. Because if you stop using the nicotine packets, I don't know, I never did it, but you want to smoke still, But
you hit something powerful. I
got 5 more minutes, G.
5 more minutes. All right. That means 10. Okay. So look, you hit something. There's a brother by the name of Michael Pollan. He wrote a book called The Omnivore's Dilemma. But what he did, he studied the food industry for I think like 11 years. And he figured out the ways they screw us and they lie to us into eating things that aren't food. How they put pretty pictures on packages of leaves and things like that. They convince us that they're organic or they're natural without saying it. And we believe it and we buy it. You just said something that was so profound.
Okay.
One of his sayings in one of his books called Food Rules, in which I recommend everybody read it, real simple, quick reader, how to eat. He had a food rule which said that if the food has a commercial, don't eat it.
Right.
If the food has a commercial, don't eat it. It's not food. Food is free, basically. If it actually has a commercial, it's processed. It's not food. It actually will make you sicker. It will give you disease. What you said was profound because of why he said what he said.
Okay.
If they have to sell it to you, if they have to advertise it to you, if they have to convince you to buy it, it's not what they say it is. It's not anything that you need. It's not anything worth anything. If they have to give you a commercial to buy a car, if they have to show you a commercial to buy some bed sheets, if they got to give you a commercial to buy a cell phone, you don't need it.
Right.
I think that you nailed it. I think that you said something extremely profound, which is for people who watch TV, I don't watch TV, but if it has a commercial, that's the last thing you should buy because they have to try to sell it to you. It applies to laws. If they have to make a law for it, it's not a good thing to do because they're forcing people to do it. If you have to force people to do so, any good idea, you don't have to force anybody. If it's a good idea, you don't need people in the pharmaceutical commercials dancing in the beginning, with music in the background.
With the flowers in the background, running through the flowers.
Everybody happy. Oh, but
I'm better now. I'm better.
Oh, Chris, did you see the Viagra commercial? The new one? Oh my gosh. Well, I guess these were a couple years ago. The lady. Oh, she was fine. She was fine. She didn't have the silk and the lace. She came outside. No, but check this out. So the Viagra commercial, watch it. Pay attention to it. So the lady comes, oh, she hot. She's fine. They always show her head to toe. They hide everything. But you notice they never show the man in that picture. Nope. They're playing with your mind. They're telling men that you can have a woman like this. They don't show you his picture to realize he's fine. The dapper to the nines, because he is someone that goes well with who this fine woman is. But they play these games on people. They force you. They utilize your insecurities. They utilize all of these well thought out marketing mechanisms to get you to buy crap that you don't need.
Right.
Profound.
Right.
Very profound.
All right, I'm gonna just comment on one thing. Christine here I don't agree if that seatbelts are a good idea, but people didn't do it until it made law. I mean, I get that, but that's not what we're talking about, though. You know what I mean? We're not talking about seatbelts. You don't buy seatbelts. You know what I mean?
We can go there. You can go there. Let's talk about that.
That's different, though. That's different. That's about
why? Why is that different? Why is that different? Why? So I grew up. When I grew up, we used to sit in the back of my grandfather's pickup truck in El Dorado, Arkansas. He would fly on the back roads, hit bumps. We jump up in the air.
It was fun.
You know, he crazy as all hell. We could have died or whatever, but he driving. We didn't ever die. You know, we popped up in the air. Maybe he hit the brakes, slowed down just enough to catch us. Got him back in the back of the truck. but so let's think about it. Let's think about it, because a lot of the bad things that we do, a lot of the bad laws we end up with, it seemed like a good idea at the time, right? So like the war on drugs. Initially, it seemed like a good idea, right? The Violence Against Women's Act, Joe Biden's VAWA. You know, they give it a nice name. They say it brought down domestic violence, but it increased spousal murder, right? So I think it's a good thing that people wear seatbelts, but should I demand that you have to wear a seatbelt? Should I? This is where my basic foundations of America after they murdered everybody and was freedom, right? To let you do what you want to do based on your culture, because you have a right to do it. Whatever that religion is, the lack of religion, if you want holistic medicine or this, that, or whatever, we lose because we allow laws to be written to tell other people how to live their lives, whether it's good or bad.
That's true.
Whether it's good or bad. Good or bad is a subjective thing, isn't it? It's based on time. It's based on experience. It's based on you and your life and what you want to do. You know, I personally wear a seatbelt because I think it's a good idea. I make my kids wear seatbelts because I think it's a good, I don't want them to be hurt. But I disagree with a government that tells people they have to absolutely, positively, at all times, wear seatbelts because let's think about the seat. So let's think about seatbelts. What happens if you don't wear a seatbelt?
You said that already.
No seatbelt.
You said that already. Get out of here.
Seatbelts are good. Always wear a seatbelt, Carter. Always wear a seatbelt. Always.
Gonna make me wear seatbelt.
It's because I drive safe. That's why. I always tell them, yo, guy wear seatbelt, daddy driving safe. But daddy worries about other people on the road. You know what I'm saying? Get out of here, man.
But this is how they do it. But it's a good example. I want to go with that example. But if you don't wear a seatbelt, first of all, the automakers can now make more money. Now all the cars have to have seatbelts. So that money's funneling up to the elite. But also, if you don't wear it, they can fine you. They can make money on it. And this is why even when they have the laws that are well-meaning, there's always a scam in it for them to extort money from the poor population. So even if it's a better thing about seatbelts are, it's kind of like drugs, and it's kind of like alcohol. If people realize the value of not doing it, you make strong people who won't do it. When you educate people as to the benefit of seatbelts, you don't have to have a law. They'll all wear it.
They'll know.
There's a difference between forcing people by men with guns and imprisonment and fines versus teaching them the benefits of children not flying through windows. When you really educate people how to be self-empowered, then you don't need to write the law, right? Like that, and it's more sustainable because now you're making a wise population as opposed to a nanny state. So I stick by that same truth is that if it's a good idea, people will do it. You just have to educate them.
That's true.
If it's a bad idea, you have to force it.
People won't do it. If you
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what Christine's saying. I totally know what she's saying, but I'm trying to think through it. I'm trying to think. You know, you've been here 10 minutes.
Me, I go freestyle, processing. It's like you're saying freedom of choice. Freedom to reign supreme. But also education matters. Education matters. You know what I'm saying? We have to educate youth. They want you to be said love.
I'm getting an echo.
What you said? The insurance mandate crazy. That's crazy. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? That's a real dagger right there. But it's kind of awesome though. We still are open to understanding. That's a good thing. We're open to understanding. You know. We still have a lot of education out there. Even as adults, we have a lot of education. We have a lot of learning to do. But we have to remain open to learn. A lot of adults shut their mind. Oh, I graduated college. Oh, I went and I got a great job. This, whatever. You can't tell me nothing. I'm a master in my study. You can't tell me nothing.
Right, I think we're dying on an echo, brother.
All right. I'm echoing.
Yeah. We're dying on the echo.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but it's two of you.
Oh, it's two of them. Well, that means it's time to go.
Well, yeah, I didn't have to run anyway, so I'll go ahead and let you go. So listen, thanks. We appreciate everybody joining. It was a good talk once again. And I don't know what we call this, but it's good to do a little bit of a colonial wrap up, what's happening throughout the colonies, because they're doing the same thing to all of us.
Break down as much as we want it.
So the echo's out of control.
Yeah, probably. All right, say bye.
I'm in limbo.
The camera say bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Y'all have a good day. All right, Chris, it was good seeing you. All right.
Everybody for tuning in.
Love y'all.
Keep conversating on my double echo, and you hear me. Keep conversating in love. In love, and understanding. The echo still love. All right, brother.
All right, y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.